Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast, Business and Technology in Tennessee, brought to you by InfoSystems. I'm Josh Davis, the Marketing Director at InfoSystems, and with me today I have a special guest from Municipal Gas Authority of Georgia, Miss Tara LeCroy. I guess it's Mrs.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Municipal Gas Authority of Georgia has been an InfoSystems customer for a pretty good while now.
Yes.
The relationship goes beyond my time with InfoSystems, so I don't really know how long you've been working with us, but that's something we'll talk about here, is the relationship between our two companies and some of the work we've done over the years. But to get started, I'd like to give you a chance to talk a little bit about Municipal Gas Authority, who you all are and what you do. This is just sort of a special podcast episode where we get to highlight people we do business with, something that I hope we can do more of through this podcast, because to me that's one of the best things to talk about as a company is, you know, the fantastic relationships you have with other businesses in the region. So quickly run us through the Gas Authority and what you guys do and who you serve, and give us some fun facts.
Sure. So Municipal Gas is a nonprofit organization. We serve about 79 or 80 cities throughout Georgia and other cities kind of in the southeast as well. And the cities that we serve own their own natural gas distribution systems. So we buy and sell, we manage their gas supply. That's our core business. We have several other kind of offshoots of our core business. For example, we own natural gas wells in Alabama, in the coal bed methane basin in Alabama.
Very cool. So specifically Georgia, do your services go outside of the state?
Sometimes they do. We offer some limited services in other states, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, kind of scattered.
I was curious because you probably keep up with the utility industry given what you do, and so you're probably aware that EPB here in Chattanooga, the electricity company, provides internet service, and they've had a little issue over the years in wanting to be able to go outside of their physical presence, but they can't because of laws that exist. I didn't know if something similar was in place in Georgia that regulated you all.
We do have some regulations, but we are able to offer subsets of our services.
Yeah, well, that's great. So your official title at Municipal Gas Authority is?
Manager of IT.
Manager of IT. And how long have you been at Municipal Gas Authority, and how long have you been in your current position?
I've been at Municipal Gas Authority over 19 years. It was 19 years in June. I graduated college in May. I started with Municipal Gas in June.
Wow.
So going on 20 years. I've been manager of the IT group for about 5.
That's awesome. So you want to give a shout out to your college alma mater?
I went to KSU.
Nice.
So I did not go far.
Yeah.
About a mile from our offices.
That's awesome. So, to be able to transition directly into a job right out of college that you've stayed with for 20 years now is...
Wasn't the plan, but...
I mean, and it's rare these days. I mean, you don't really see
rare.
that much anymore. People, you know, the whole employment environment is so crazy now with, you know, entrepreneurship and job hopping, and it's you can't even keep up. But 20 years of tenure with one company is something to be celebrated, so congratulations on that. But I do want to talk a little about your role as IT manager and being a woman in the IT industry, because one of the things we bring up over and over again on our podcast series is talking about diversity, whether it's gender diversity or racial diversity or socioeconomic diversity. You know, there are a lot of obstacles out there for people in certain situations or you know, of a certain gender or race, or that make it harder to access the education required and the technology required to gain skills in IT. So I'd like to hear some from you before we really dive into talking about the IT projects and the customer IT provider part of this conversation, and just get your perspective as a woman with a 20-year career in the IT industry. First of all, why did you go that direction in the first place?
Well, from an early age, I just knew I had the knack. Some people can just jump on and figure stuff out, and troubleshooting skills, and it kind of felt like one of the things that I was best at. And so I originally wanted to pursue teaching IT, and kind of thought, well, why don't I just get my degree in information systems and go from there? And so that's what I did.
Nice.
And as I got further into my degree, I realized I like to be hands-on. I like to work with a wide variety of technology, even coding. I don't think I could do it full time, but
Yeah.
I do enjoy a degree of that too.
Yeah, I used to, play around with code when I was in kind of heavy in web development type stuff, and I really enjoyed it. It's kind of like, you're learning a language out. It's an English-based set of code, but it's a completely different way to communicate with a machine. It's just really, it's kind of fascinating. Programming blows me away, and I was just that much into it with HTML and CSS, the web-based languages. But when you get into the really hardcore programming languages, application languages and stuff like that, that's fascinating. It blows my mind, and I'm not mentally capable of going any further than I did with it, which is why I'm in the role I'm in now in business. But that's interesting, that problem solving and troubleshooting kind of led to your passion towards IT. Did you experience any difficulty kind of breaking into the industry, whether it was in education or actually, professionally once you got out of college?
Not really. I did notice there was, if you compare the business school and the information systems classes, there were mostly men in the IT classes, and that is still true today, which kind of shocks me. 20 years later, I've been working with KSU to hire an intern, and it's still kind of mainly men that are going to school for technical degrees. So, but as far as any problems, no, I didn't have any problems, and I kind of lucked into my job expecting to stay a year and then decide what to do from there, and that was almost 20 years ago. So,
and during the course of your 20-year career, as you've gained new skills, and I'm sure you've earned certifications, and you've really grown in your ability to perform what you do at Municipal Gas Authority, and now I'm assuming managing other resources internally who also are growing their careers. What has been really rewarding to you? And if you were going to reflect back over 20 years of growth, what are some of those landmark moments where you really felt like accomplished something or really excited to take on a new challenge? Do you have some of those examples?
Gosh, I think that happens all the time, because we are a pretty large company that runs on a pretty small staff, especially our IT staff. And so we're constantly doing things that I'm shocked. Probably one of the biggest moments was we acquired a company back in 2013, and we had to acquire all of their IT, and we had to do it very quickly. And there was a lot of technology that we weren't familiar with, radio network and SCADA devices, and we on a very slim staff, we did it, and we had it up and running by the deadline. So, and InfoSystems helped us with that project too. So I would imagine that would be a really crazy challenge. You don't really think about merger and acquisition. You think about the business side of things, where employees, where do employees fit in a new role in the new merged company or acquired company, and you think about how the products and services are going to fit together, and you don't necessarily think about the back end systems that are running everything, and the fact that that's going to end up getting mashed together too, and you have to figure it all out. We had to grow all of our systems. We went from practically 0% virtual to probably 85% over that probably 4-month period. We had to replace all of our hardware. It was a big project. I
would assume a project like that, where you're going to from completely non-virtual to a virtualized environment, you were able, to me, that probably put you in position to really begin optimizing everything
Definitely.
within your IT. What are the differences from running all physical equipment to running a 85% virtual
Oh
environment?
gosh, it's night and day. Just the administration of the hardware alone, there's less hardware to fail, and the hardware that is there is very redundant, and we run on redundant hosts, so if one goes down, the other one picks up, and users don't even see a difference.
Yeah.
Just night and day differences.
And I mentioned you were talking about InfoSystems being a part of that process, helping you all through that. How far does the relationship go back between Municipal Gas Authority and InfoSystems?
Oh gosh, probably we kind of I would say 10 years or more. It's been a long road. It's kind of hard to distinguish. We were following certain technical people, and so when they came here, we kind of came here too and have stayed.
Yeah, and I think that happens in lots of industries. If you have a particular accountant who has been in your books and managing your tax and things like that for years and years and years, if that person goes to another firm, you're probably pretty likely to follow. And so it happens in IT too, when you've had technicians who really know your systems and understand and have people you've built trust with. If they change companies, a lot of times those things happen where you would then look to their new location but I'm sure in the last 10 years, since you've been partnered with InfoSystems, people have probably come and gone.
They have.
So there must be something else with InfoSystems that has really earned your trust and loyalty, and that's good to know that 10 years through all of the personnel transitions that happen in IT.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, IT people, it's sort of the nature of the business. People are rapidly gaining new skills, and every year you do this, you're growing exponentially, and so people quickly look for new opportunities to capitalize on all of the skills they gain. So, it's always been a challenge for a company like InfoSystems to hold a consistent staff year after year, because there's just so much growth and change in technology hopefully what we have been able to do at InfoSystems is provide you with a consistent level of service and commitment, and over all of those years. What are some of the stories you have of working with InfoSystems? I know we've done probably quite a few different types of projects. Are there anything that stand out as, that's one of the reasons why I've stuck it out with this company for 10 years and I'm still going?
I think the main reason I say, it seems like the culture here is very similar to our culture, which is kind of a small feel, high touch customer service. And so I know that even in the middle of the night, which hasn't happened in a while, but even in the middle of the night, there will be somebody here that can help me get in touch with somebody that can help me get my systems back up. And that's obviously very important. Our IT staff is very small, and so we look at InfoSystems as an extension of our IT staff. And pretty much at this point, all of our production equipment we purchase from InfoSystems, and we kind of rely on your staff to help us keep it running.
Yeah,
it's hard for our small staff to have the broad knowledge to support every single thing that could come up. So.
Yeah, and that's, we've got another podcast series that we do with Swan, who is one of our virtual CIOs. I don't know if you've ever worked with Aaron or not, but one of the things we consistently talk about on his podcast, he's the IT coach for business leaders, and really it's a podcast where he's giving advice to small and mid-sized companies that have a limited IT staff.
Right.
Because, like you said, there are a lot of technologies out there, and you can't be expert on everything. You have to have your internal people who you really trust to do certain things, but once it gets outside of that scope, you've got to have somebody else you can trust who has a specialist in that. And so that's one of the things InfoSystems has always tried to do, is have not just one but at least two experts in each sort of specialization area, so that customers have that backup if a technical person goes on vacation, or if they're out of the office for a personal reason, or if employee turnover happens. You're not losing the only resource who was a specialist in that area. So we try to internally make sure we have backups to our backups, make sure those people have access to all of the things they need to go out and do the job any given day, whatever the circumstances are. And that's a challenge.
Yeah.
You're dealing with your own set of challenges, with a small staff and a big company, maintaining the systems. Completely different on our side of the ball game, the challenges that we face. But ultimately, it sounds like this has been a very great partnership for 10 plus years now. I would like to hear some about a recent project that InfoSystems did with you all, and that was around HP Nimble. And this episode was sponsored by Hewlett Packard, HP, and we've traditionally InfoSystems has been limited in the manufacturers that we've represented and gone to business with as a business partner. HP is probably one of the newer business partners we've had, and it's been over the course of maybe 5 to 8 years where we've actively been adding a lot of new vendors and manufacturers and technologies, and that just is a reflection of what we've already said with the complexity of IT now and all of the different technologies out there. We have to grow too and add all of this, but it's been a really exciting partnership between us and HP, and they were excited about all of this too, so they wanted to help us get the word out about the fact that we're able to implement and support HP products now. So give us a little insight about what this project was, what led up to it, and why the HP Nimble was ultimately what you all decided to move forward with.
Okay, so we started looking at storage to replace our current storage unit probably almost 2 years ago, and just started looking at different options. Jay came over to our office a few times, and HP came to our office once, and we really liked the flexibility that the HP Nimble would offer, and we liked the licensing structure, that you aren't nickel and dimed for every little feature that you want to add. It kind of all comes together, so that was very attractive to us. And so we started the project kind of pricing it out, thinking we would have to span it over a couple of years because of the way that my budget falls. So that's kind of hard when you're looking at replacing server hardware and the storage that's attached to it. You kind of would rather do it all at once. So my company, we were in the position to have some extra money this year, and my CFO came to me and told me I could spend the money to replace the hardware. And so luckily we had been coming up with this plan all along, and we were ready to go. We went ahead and executed and ordered all the equipment.
Nice. It's pretty nice when
it is. For a nonprofit, it is very nice.
When in a nonprofit organization does your CFO come to you and say, hey, we have extra money for you to spend now?
Not a lot.
Yeah. So I guess that was a welcome gift on your side of the business. So talk a little about the project. This was a storage project, and HP Nimble is a type of device provided by HP. Talk a little about what role that plays in your internal IT infrastructure, and maybe why that particular platform, how it's working after the fact, because I know this project has been completed, and from what I've been told went relatively smoothly. I mean, there are always humps and obstacles in large IT projects, but ultimately if one goes relatively smooth, everybody comes out feeling pretty good about that. So talk a little about the project overall and how it's operating now.
Yeah, so we're thrilled. We've had 0 issues with HP Nimble. It's kind of just been chugging along. It does host probably 80% of our production data, so it's very critical to our operations. But it's been great. Yeah,
and I understand you've been able to implement a nice disaster recovery plan behind it. So you mentioned that this is business critical data. So having disaster recovery and being able to implement those, obviously that's super important. So it sounds like a positive, hopefully making your life easier now.
Yes,
at work.
It is.
So any other, before there's one other thing I want to kind of give you a soapbox type moment, going back to the women in technology topic. But before we do that, any other comments just about working with InfoSystems over the years, or HP and how it compared to other systems, or just anything you would like to add?
The HP interface is very easy to use. We were a little bit worried coming off of our current platform that we would have a learning curve, but it hasn't seemed to be that big of a deal, so we're very happy about that. As far as InfoSystems, when you're asking about history, it just kind of stuck in my mind that there was one point when I was very sick and we were understaffed, and a person from InfoSystems actually sat at my desk for probably a week. We were in the middle of I think an email conversion or something big, and so I don't know what I would have done without that, but kind of got in the ring and took over for me and kept the project going.
That's great to hear. I know the ability, one of the things I hear everybody talking about internally, especially on the customer service, the technical side of things, is being able to be flexible for our customers. We can't, if an emergency like that comes up at your office, we're not going to say, well, it doesn't work for us to be there, so sorry, you're on your own. We're going to do whatever it takes to take care of the customer. And that's when you mentioned culture of InfoSystems and matching the culture of Municipal Gas Authority, I think our culture ultimately comes from Clay, our CEO, who founded the company, along with a group of technical resources that were part of a team from the very beginning. But he's really driven our culture for, we're going on 25 years of business in April of 2019. It's our 25th year anniversary, so we're in our 25th year right now. And Clay has really driven that culture and attitude where we're going to take care of customers no matter what. And if we're going to be at fault or accused of something, it's going to be that we went overboard trying to take care of our customers to a fault. So I just applaud. That's something that I really appreciate working here, is the culture that I'm surrounded by, and ultimately, Clay and the business that he's built over the last 25 years. So it's good to hear from you that, there have been times when that was really valuable because of your circumstance. So final segment here to close out the podcast episode. We talked about women in technology, and you alluded to that when you look at college classrooms for IT, information systems, things like that, computer science, it's mostly men. So what would you say to younger women who may, like you, have a knack for solving problems and just kind of naturally be good at technical things, but aren't really considering IT as a career path? What advice would you give them, or would you encourage them to head in, down the same road that you did?
Yeah, I definitely would. I think that, as I said, I haven't really come up against any obstacles per se, but it is a male-dominated field, and so you're going to go to a lot of Braves games, which I like baseball, so it's fun. And a lot of sporting events, and probably should learn to golf. But
if nothing else, I guess the traditional, sales and marketing event, when from an IT company, who's doing a customer appreciation event or something like that, it seems like they always revolve around golfing or going to a baseball game, or we've done those types of things for years, and you don't really sit back and think about, that's something that men are more interested in than women typically, so maybe we should think about doing something that's more focused on women. Which is honestly one reason why I wanted to do the event we did earlier this year at Songbird's Guitar Museum, because to me music is something that sort of plays toward everybody. It doesn't, race, gender, everybody kind of has something for music, or at least can appreciate it. So, I chose to do an event, a customer appreciation and sort of an announcement event for InfoSystems at Songbird's Guitar Museum. And I thought that was a really cool event, just the whole atmosphere and everything. And so maybe that appealed to you more than another Braves game or golf outing.
Oh, I like the Braves games and the golf outings. But yeah, Songbirds was great.
Yeah, that's cool. So for younger women out there potentially looking to get into IT, you've had a great experience. I'm sure you feel, with your position at Municipal Gas Authority, that you feel like you've been a success and had a very great career. What do you think, looking ahead 10 years, what do you think your challenges are going to be in IT with technology and at Municipal Gas Authority?
I think probably security and public data. We're starting up a new branch of our company around selling appliances to customers of our customers, and so we will have a little bit, very limited amount of customer data. So I think we'll have to, I think that's going to evolve. I think public data privacy is probably going to become bigger and bigger. Like I mentioned, security, that's always hard, especially kind of in the smaller systems. I think as more and more things move to cloud-based, we'll probably struggle with what to keep in-house and what to kind of let go into a cloud platform.
Yeah, and you listen to pretty much any forward-looking IT thought leadership presentation these days, and it's all about hybrid cloud. I mean, the vendors understand now that people aren't going to just wholesale put everything cloud.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense. And so I think you're right. One of the huge conversations going forward is going to be what's best served on premise and what's best served from a cloud, whether it's a private cloud or a public cloud environment or, a software as a service type environment. Those decisions are going to become really critical moving forward. And security never goes away. I mean, it seems like every episode of a podcast that I record, there's some kind of security incident that I could bring up as an example.
Yeah.
I mean, over the weekend, Facebook was in the news for, 50 million customer records breached, and personal information. I think it was contact information that was released. But over and over again, you hear about security. So yeah,
it's not going away.
Not going away, and it's going to become more and more crucial for and you've got GDPR and other compliance stuff those types of things are going to become more and more prominent. So lots of challenges on our side, which means job security.
That's true.
They have to have people to figure all these things out. So the IT jobs are not going anywhere. Well, Tara, thank you so much for coming and participating in the podcast today. Thank you for 10 years of business between Municipal Gas Authority and InfoSystems, and hopefully that relationship keeps going for a long time, and hopefully we can continue to meet those demanding times where there's emergencies and whatever situation arises, you need some support. I guess that's probably a good enough place to leave the episode, but I think there's some really good content that we talked about today, women in technology and diversity and stuff like that. So hopefully this episode will be one that gets shared a lot out there for, if nothing else, just encouragement purposes for people who are considering IT careers. But thank you very much, and have a great rest of your day.
You too.